What's going on, guys? Today I've got a topic that I've been wanting to cover with you all for quite a while. I'm only finally getting around to making a video about it, and that's about damage calculation in Custom Robo. And I think there are a lot of misconceptions about it, and rightfully so, because the game sort of it really misleads you. So what you're looking at right now is the stats page. You can see every Robo's 5 stats that the game sort of arbitrarily assigns it above their name, which are down, defense, speed, sky, and attack. And so we're on the Metal Grappler page, and look at this last stat, attack, ATK. You can see the Metal Ape has 2 bars, the Metal Bear has a fuck million of them, and you got, what is that, 4 or so? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 for the Metal Ox, which would lead you to believe that Metal Bear does just an astronomical more amount of damage than the Metal Ape. But that's actually not the case. So let me show you this table. So I've shared this a few times in the Discord, and some people have seen it, and probably a lot of people have not seen it. This is the Custom Robo Weapon Damage Guide on GameFAQs by Kamineko. This was published in 2004, so it's been out for a long time, actually. I'll leave a link to this in the description below. At the very bottom here, there's this little thing that says, use of this guide on any other website or as part of a public display is strictly prohibited and a violation of copyright. But this is for educational purposes, so this is strictly speaking legal. So tough titty about that. Okay, so right here we see the formula for damage calculation. It's really simple. It's weapon damage times your body's offense times enemy body's defense equals final damage. Okay, so 2A body table offense, and right away, look at this. Metal Grappler 105%. Actually, for all the legal robos in the game, they are categorized by simply put their class and not by the actual individual robo themselves. And so whenever we saw all those different stats for the Metal Grapplers, that was a blatant lie. That's just not true. They all have the same attack as 105%. And you can also see that aside from a few exceptions, they're all very, very close. You got Aerial Beauties and Little Raiders with a 5% damage reduction because of their mobility, no doubt. And even Athena too, but she's a Aerial Beauty. And then of the legal robos, you only have Metal Grapplers with an attack buff at 105%. The only other deviations are Ray, Legend, and Warrior with 150 and 110% respectively. Now let's move on to the defense table, and this is where things start getting a little more interesting, because you can see that the defense values are actually separate for each individual robo and not just for their class. So we'll kind of go over them by class. You have your Shining Fighters with Ray 01, Splendor, and Glory 107, 101, and 111% respectively. I think this is pretty interesting that they didn't actually give Ray 01 100%. If you look down the list, actually nothing has 100% on the defense table. But we can use this as a reference point. So next are our Aerial Beauties, Milky Way, Earth, and Soul with 117, 111, and 122%. You can see that the defense one is the same as the speed with Glory, so they're taking a little bit more damage. Oh yeah, I should probably explain. If you look at the formula, it's damage times offense times defense equals final damage. So actually, just the way this happens to work out is that the higher the number for your defense, actually the more damage you're going to take. So a low number on defense is better. I should probably point that out because that confused me for a while. And so what you're seeing in each one of these sets of 3 is the middle one has the best defense, and the last one has the worst defense. So the armor version of every class, strictly speaking, just from a statistical standpoint, is always going to be the best. So just remember that. Then we've got our grapplers with 95, 90, and 101%. And I think this is interesting. If you drop down a little bit farther and look at these guys, the heads, the funky big heads, they actually have a little bit better defense than the grapplers, which I never would have expected until I looked at it. But these guys have the best defense in the game outside of course, Rahu 3. So that's interesting. Now Swift, Strike, and Peregrine, 132, 128, and 138%. And that's pretty fucking awful, actually. Those are the worst legal bots in the game. But if you look at Strike and compare this to your Lightning Skies, he actually has better defense than Breaker. So that's a cool comparison to make. Now we've got our Strike Vanishers, 107, 101, 111. If you recall, this is the same as what we had with the Shining Fighters. Exactly, which I think is a really bad balancing decision, especially when you look at Criminal Buggy Juggler. Everybody will like to make comparisons between Strike Vanishers and what are those called? I'm drawing a blank. Trick Flyers, because they all have 3 air dashes, and well, Trick Flyers don't have invincibility on their air dash, so everybody just will say that Strike Vanishers are strictly speaking an upgrade to them, and they're even an upgrade in terms of defense. I just think that's really poor judgment on the balancing team, but that's neither here nor there. Now we've got our Lightning Skies, second only to your little raiders in terms of like shit defense. The heads we already looked at. Now we're at the illegals. The first page of illegals are all tied at 111%, which I think is just the developers being lazy, if you want to be honest about it, because you look at Reconnaissance, and that's on a little bit on the weak end of the Strike Vanishers, and it's for the Athena that's a little bit on the high side for Aerial Beauties. But then if you look at Ruhiel, however you say that, that's fucking broken, man. That's just Defender. See, the best one here is 122 on his class. He has 111. That's kind of ridiculous. But oh well. Ray Legend has 170, which this would make you think that maybe this guy's actually balanced. Maybe we should test him out in tournament play, since he has 150 buff, like a 50% buff to his offense and a 70% decrease to his defense. But he actually just has way too good a mobility. He has got like 6 air dashes and runs as fast as a little raider, so that's just not okay. Ray Warrior has 90%, which puts him on par with Metal Bear. Oil Can obviously fucking blows. Rahu 1 and 2, I thought it was interesting that they're equal to Rayo 1. Rahu 3 obviously is broken, and Chicken Heart. I was surprised by this because I thought he would have a lot better defense than 111. It's like slightly weak in terms of defense. I guess it's average. So here's the weapon table, or rather the gun table, and you're seeing a lot of numbers here. I can't possibly hope to go over this, but I'll give you a little bit of explanation about what's going on. Leave a link in the description so you can take a closer look if you want to. So every gun in the game, it'll do like varying damage depending on how far away the opponent is relative to you. Right? It also has a different damage value based upon if you shoot from the ground or if you shoot from the air. So this chart has 4 ranges, both ground shot and aerial shot are on the chart, and it even tells us how many hits are like the gun will give you. And so it assumes the table assumes that all the hits connect, so remember that. I'll show you a few highlights. 194 for the 3-way. Pretty much every speedrunner knows that this gun does ridiculous amounts of damage if you get up close with it, but the close versus melee range is like so disparate in terms of damage. That's pretty much why the 3-way gun actually fucking blows in PvP. Then the Hornet gun actually does even more damage than 3-way, and it retains its damage better over distance than the 3-way does. It also has better hit stun, but that's neither here nor there. What else is notable? V-Laser, I think this is a notable one because it actually does 76 damage across the board, no matter how far away the opponent is. If they're melee range, it does 152. That's because at this range, it's close enough for both shots of the V to actually connect, and you'll see that's actually double the 76 damage for the single shot. So that's pretty interesting. It doesn't say the amount of damage for the lingering hitbox, and I wish it would. I'm pretty sure it does less damage if you like walk into the lingering hitbox as it's going away. Needle, I just thought it was interesting that the needle does 1 less damage at melee range than everywhere else. I don't know why that is, but oh yeah, Rahu 1. This is something that I thought was kind of interesting because we've been talking about possibly legalizing this gun, and so I want to talk about the damage for this guy. So this is a modified version of the flare gun. Okay, we can see the flare gun at the sweet spot does 124. They get hit up close with it. The idea of the flare gun is that it's good if you hit them with a sweet spot, but if you hit them too close or too far away, it's bad. Well, the weak hit of Rahu 1, the upgraded version, does more damage than the sweet spot of the flare gun, which is kind of insane. It actually does 285 damage in the sweet spot, which is like fucking nuts. That's almost 300 damage. Also, I just noticed, is this a real thing? Meteor Storm, 540 damage? That doesn't seem like it could be right. I gotta test with this, because that doesn't seem like that could be right at all, but maybe. There was one last thing I wanted to show, was Homing Star. It jumps all the way up to 256 damage at medium to far range after the shots split apart, and so that gun's pretty fucking nuts. For the bombs, there's not as much information here because there's only really ground shots and air shots. It doesn't differentiate between all the ranges like guns do, so that's pretty neat. It doesn't have anything on the table for smash, probably because you have to force the opponent to jump to use it, I'm guessing. If you look at the guns, it's got this line here that says when a target is down, they only receive 30% of the normal damage. That's only partially true. When being attacked by a gun, a pod, or a collision attack, when you're down, damage is reduced by about 70%, but when you get hit by a bomb while you're down, it only reduces damage by like close to 50%. So I don't think he actually knew that when he made this table. Overall, I think this is really interesting to look at. I would love to put all this data into a spreadsheet sometime and iterate on it further, include pods, because that's not on this guide. And I also would like to see like frame data for collision attacks on these guys, for like all of these things, including hit stun values and all that. I think that'd be well, that'd be a really big undertaking to do a project like that, but I think that it would be very cool to work on. So go ahead and leave a like if you like this video. Comment, let me know if you learned something new, and I hope you did. Other than that, I'll see you guys later. Bye.